Good evening, everybody. This is Gayatri Singh. My name is pronounced just like a guy standing under a tree. And I'm a clinical advisor for Humana, as well as a psychotherapist at Access Behavioral Health here in Kentucky. And because of doing two separate jobs simultaneously, along with a full-time schedule, I'm not able to present in person right now, and I apologize for that. I hope you would accommodate my request of presenting this way. Okay, thank you in advance. My project presentation is going to be implementing a HIPAA compliant secured email at my private practice, and it is going to be talking about various components that go into it, related to telemental health technology, etc. Your feedback would be greatly appreciated. I'm also sending out a PowerPoint slide. I hope it's detailed enough to encapsulate everything that I'm presenting here. If you have any feedback, feel free to email me or offer me some suggestions via this video. That would be greatly appreciated. Basically, telemental health technology refers to the use of psychotechnologies that deliver therapeutic dialogue at a distance, whether conducted over a direct video link, example, telepsychology or telepsychiatry, or over a network such as the internet, according to Dr. Mayhew and her colleagues in her book, which was published in 2005. I did my internship, which was at an APA accredited site at the Appalachian Regional Hospital here in Kentucky for a year in 2009-2010. During which time we utilized a lot of telemental health technology oriented services, because it was in a remote region. We had lots of psychiatrists who couldn't travel back and forth between Louisville and Lexington, which are the biggest cities in Kentucky, to a place called Hazard, which is a remote area. So I'm familiar with telemental health technologies as it relates to in vivo psychotherapeutic services and psychiatric services. However, I wasn't quite familiar with the HIPAA compliant secured email or texting, etc. So this was a cool project to initiate, because I'm sure that some of you probably had similar questions like I did as well, because one would imagine that sending out a general email to a client or patient or member, whatever you might call them, would be pretty okay, but not really. So the technology usage in medicine has kind of undergone significant change. Email usage is relatively inexpensive, and it's a medium to communicate with patients, which is because every patient these days, nearly every patient, has access to emails and has access to iPhones and other things, and mental health professionals tend to utilize email to communicate and respond to their patients' queries. However, it always brought up the question of, are we complying with the HIPAA requirements? Is everything all right? So basically what I found through my research was that email communication provides well-documented instructions and reduces repetitious instructions that we tend to give as clinicians. However, you want to keep it as safe as possible, because it's still a dialogue that you're having with the patient. Another important customized self-help resource that can be relayed that encourages patients to kind of explore therapeutic interventions outside of our regular face-to-face interactions, and basically it's eco-friendly as well, which is it saves on wasteful, obsolete resources like printing out certain things and providing it to it. Lots of CBT providers tend to print out stuff and hand it to their clients or patients in person. However, it can reduce all of that if it is emailed to them in advance and the patient can utilize their own printer or have an electronic copy of it while they do the in vivo session with the therapist or the clinician. So my proposed project implementation was basically I work as an autonomous licensed clinician in an interdisciplinary group practice called Access Behavioral Health Incorporation out here in Louisville, Kentucky. They did not have any secure or HIPAA compliant emails that they would send out resources through. So we had to kind of print out everything before we presented it to our patients. And as we know, Yahoo and Gmail and Hotmail, etc., do not provide the security required by law to transmit requisite data. Most free email services are not HIPAA compliant at all, since they scan the email contents to match them with advertisements. Have you ever noticed how, if you're receiving an email from a particular source, let's say JCrew, and all of a sudden, it confirms that you have received your package or whatever, all of a sudden you're receiving a slew of advertisements from JCrew or from other garment-related corporations out there, because of the non-secure way of communicating with each other, where requisite data is transmitted, but it's also scanned so that advertisements can be put on there. And that's rather unfortunate, because can you imagine somebody receiving an email about anxiety and all of a sudden receiving advertisements about various anxiolytics that are available? So that can cause a security breach, which can also make us liable for potential lawsuits, etc. So my project involves implementing a HIPAA compliant secured email account to communicate with my patients, especially to share data such as disorder-specific resources from empirically based websites, applications, etc. I often like to send members information from things like psychologytools.org or apa.org or psychiatry.org or WebMD or Mayo Clinic, etc. So because although they may know about it and they may process it in session, it is very different when they receive an email from the therapist recommending that particular site, and in their free time they can obviously navigate that to secure the tools that they require in between sessions, basically. So the next slide on your computer probably goes into details about the differences between secure emails and unsecure emails, and also gives you enough information visually to make it kind of simplistic, essentially. It's not that simple, but oh well. That's the best we can do graphically, right? So the steps needed to implement this project is basically to understand HIPAA privacy regulations and expectations, also to understand the security and its applications to healthcare professionals, and in reviewing patient communication. The other thing required for this particular project to be completed is to identify HIPAA compliant email service providers, and to select an appropriate service provider based on contract terms and security and privacy features. And the last step, but it's definitely not the least, is to inform patients about the safe email interface available and the features thereof. Okay. So in my case, when I looked up certain vendors, I utilized Google and I utilized other websites to basically run a search of vendors with a HIPAA compliant record. And I zeroed in on MD Office Mail, which was selected because it met all the criteria that I required. I also looked at several others that were available for free, but it wasn't kind of congruent with my needs right now, because there were names like hushemail.com, like who receives emails from a vendor called hush.com? It just makes no sense. So it has to be, names are important, and I wanted to make sure that my members feel fully secure and my patients feel fully secure. So the features of MD Office Mail, which I zeroed in on, was that it was HIPAA compliant. It had an end-to-end encryption, which basically means that it tends to offer secure access not only to senders but also at the recipient's end, irrespective of the email service used by the recipients. So even if they may not be utilizing a secure email, that's fine, because it still tends to offer certain encryption which protects their data. The next thing that I found valuable was the fact that it was a legal archival resource. As required by HIPAA, all incoming and outgoing emails are stored in a secure remote server, which neither can be edited nor can be deleted. And there are automatic session timeouts. They have access logs and audit controls, and they also have the future potential to add other MD Office services like secured fax and secured website features, etc., which I would like to add to our practice at a later time, if and when that's made available, and if it is congruent, financially as well. So the next slide that you'll see is that of, it's a snapshot of MD Offices, which is a HIPAA compliant email service. I already opened the email account there. It cost me around $9 for 3 months, which wasn't really bad, given the fact that I get all of those features, and I also get an email ID, which is Gayatri Singh 7 at HIPAAmail.us. So that's pretty good. And the expected end result of the project is it entails on a complete migration to this HIPAA secured email, and by ensuring that patients are aware of the updated practice procedures to use this mode of communication. And I think we are getting there. And there are some references as well in the PowerPoint slides that I've sent you. So that goes into details of various sources that I looked at to gain the information that I presented today. Thank you so much for your time, and hopefully I'll receive some constructive feedback from you. That would be greatly appreciated. And all the best in all of your presentations as well. And I'll definitely, uh, be on the lookout for them. So take care. Bye bye. Good night.